Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Well, welcome again, everyone. It is so good to be here with you, to feel your love and your presence. This is a whole new world, a whole new experience that Reverend Karen and I are having, doing this service from our homes because of we're honoring physically distancing ourselves at this time. And our music director, David York, is not with us. He is home and recovering, and we send our love and blessings to you, David. And we're grateful for Andy Grawl, who created our music tracks tonight that you heard during our chanting. Thank you to Reverend Shirley, who is supporting us, and Donna Fisher, who is with you in the comments during our time together. So Karen and I were talking about, we are starting a new series tonight. So the first night we're doing this service from home. And what is the topic? But when things fall apart, and the subject is intimacy with fear. And so here we are doing this totally new thing, never done before. And it's funny to me because I think about, I've been getting this guidance now that we've been working from home, from Spirit, that's make your home a sanctuary, make it a sanctuary. So you come home and you feel, it's like a spa or kind of experience. I don't know if it's there yet, but now I've literally had to make my home a sanctuary. So as you see, I've created this with the help of my husband, David, to give us a sense of the sacred. I'm coming from home, and I know Karen is thoughtful in the way that she arranged her home as we're in your presence this evening. So, intimacy with fear. When we're noticing what's going on in the world now and all the news, there's only so much news I feel like I can take in a day before I really need to stop and get centered and remember the truth again. We can be seeing a lot of chaos. And there are questions. We seem to be more questions than answers. Do we open the country? Do we open our economy? When will things return to normal or the new normal? When can we travel? When are we going to be in church together again? How many people can meet together in church? So many questions. There are just more questions than answers right now. And the answers just seem to change daily as well. And when things fall apart, Pema Chodron shares about her teacher who lived his life as a bodhisattva, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, he's responsible for, he was a teacher who brought Buddhism to the West. And this is what he said. He said, chaos should be regarded as extremely good news. Chaos should be regarded as extremely good news. Now why is that? Well, we know in metaphysics, when we metaphysically interpret the first chapter in the book of Genesis, that before God created the heavens and the earth, there was chaos, there was the void. So we recognize chaos as a fertile place for creation. So this service, if this is the first time that you're joining us for satsang, we are an interactive experience. So I'm asking you to be thinking about the things that I'm sharing with you and to add into the comments. And then after I finish my talk, we'll have a time of spiritual talk back where we'll look through the comments, and we'll be looking at the things that you've shared. And if you have questions or things you want to share, we'll be sharing them with everyone. So my first question for you to consider is, what is the good news that you see in this chaos? So Rinpoche said chaos should be regarded as extremely good news. What is the good news that you see in this chaos? Let that come into your awareness and share that in our chat. Now, oftentimes we begin our spiritual journey through a time that's been ignited by something falling apart. When things fall apart, I love that the subtitle is Heart Advice for Difficult Times. That's why Karen and I thought this was just perfect for this time. And there are times when we, in life, well, I know for me, most people that I have talked to in ministry who have said that their spiritual journey was ignited by something falling apart in their life. Family dynamics just coming into great drama and upheaval, a major health challenge that caused you to maybe reconsider your career path or the choices that you're making in life, to take a whole new approach, a relationship that ended, a job that ended, things falling apart. And I know for some of you, there are those of you who've shared with me that you've experienced maybe a few of these things at once, that you've lost a job suddenly and are wondering what to do, or you have a family member who's maybe has COVID-19, or you've already lost from COVID-19. We've gotten to the edge of all that we know. And it's an amazing thing that even the people who seem to know, usually be the ones with all the answers, are like, wow, I haven't seen this before. And I know we want to go beyond this experience. And so when we're on the spiritual journey, there's a desire to move into new territory. But when we do that, when we go beyond where we've ever been before, there's fear. There's fear of the unknown. And we start to add into our lives new practices. So there's mindfulness. Mindfulness, we're called to be fully present in the now moment. There are unity meditation practices like the silence. When we meditate, we have a practice of going into the silence, which is a state of no mind. There is the practice, it's called the art and practice of living with nothing and no one against you. This is a teaching from Reverend Doctors Gary and Jane Simmons, who are coming to teach with us for SEE in the Field Week in July. We're trusting that will happen and they'll be on campus, and if not, it'll be online. But they have this teaching, the art and practice of living with nothing and no one against you, where you see life as a mirror of your own consciousness. And you learn how to change your thinking, because we know the inner affects the outer, right? We learn in unity forgiveness work. We learn to pray in a consciousness of oneness, which may be a whole new way of praying. We learn prosperity principles, that you are free to live the life of your dreams. So these are all approaches that may hook us, they may fuel our enthusiasm. But when we go deeper with them, when we begin to practice them, as Pema Chodron says, without hesitation, we will at some point experience fear. And fear is a universal experience. Just look at Felicity, my daughter. She loves to play with the caterpillars. We have a milkweed plant, and we get lots of these monarch caterpillars that come, and you touch a little caterpillar and it curls up. it has a feeling of fear is protecting itself. And even plants are able to signal to other plants to let them know that danger is near. I read about that grass, when it's mowed, we smell it. It said, oh, the wonderful smell of mowed grass. That research has shown that that smell is an indication to critters, to wildlife around, that the grass is feeling itself in danger and being cut. I mean, this is interesting, that being alive, it's something that we all share, this universal experience of fear. Pema Chodron says, fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to truth. So I have another question for you in response to this quote from Pema Chodron: fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to truth. So what truth have you discovered in fear? This is another question to consider for our spiritual talk back. What truth have you discovered as you've faced the fear of being in isolation, of changes in your life, changes in your lifestyle? What truth has been uncovered for you? We want to hear that. So feel free to share that. She says, when we commit ourselves to staying right where we are, then our experience becomes very vivid. Things become very clear where there is nowhere to escape. Think about how we try to escape in our lives by, oh, let's go out and do something, or traveling, getting away, got to travel, changing vocations to just get in a whole new experience, a whole new group of relationships. We can use these things as ways to escape. I've heard of people who do a church in the month club. So I don't know, maybe you're doing that and checking us out, but they go church hopping and just check out a different church every week. Well, that sounds fun. It's certainly a worthy thing to do. And when I was in ministerial school, my teacher, Robert Brumman, said, yes, there are many paths and one God, because we teach that in Unity, right? There are many paths. We honor all the paths to God. He said, but you have to choose a path. You have to choose one, because you'll forever remain on the surface if you're spiritually taste testing, trying things out. That you need to choose one path and go deep. And I know that those of us who do the Wednesday Night Satsang, that we're people who want to go deep in our spiritual practice. So what about, rather than trying to escape, we just stay. Just stay with it. Just leaving out of the picture as a possibility. Not that we would invite you to stay somewhere where you're being abused. You should find help for that. We would encourage you to do that. But just notice that within you that wants to get up and leave and go. How about trying to stay, experiencing staying? And meditation involves staying still, being with our inner life, being present. We notice when we're in our space in meditation that there's impermanence in life. Even when we do stay where we are, things change. We notice things changing around us. We notice people coming in and out of our lives, situations changing, buildings changing. Certainly see in Houston, the roads changing all the time, things changing. And staying cultivates within us courage, and engenders compassion, builds wisdom. And also we face fear. We face fear when we stay and become still. Pema Chodron says that we can experience groundlessness as we stand on the edge of the unknown. So here's my third question for you to consider. in the comments for our talk back. What appears to be unknown to you? What appears to be unknown to you, and how does it feel to sit with the unknown? What is appearing to be unknown to you now, and how does it feel to sit with the unknown? To sit with the unknown is vulnerable. You know, live streaming from home, I want to have lots of compassion for me, for myself, for Reverend Karen, for doing this, for jumping in and making this happen, because we love you. We want to connect with you. We want to continue this service. I know it's important service for all of us. And it's vulnerable because, you know, so many things could happen. And it's just jumping in and feeling that fear and doing it anyway. You know, our natural response to fear is to dissociate from it, to let it overwhelm us. That's a natural human response, to freak out over everything that's before us or to just check out. It's good to know that this is our conditional response because it leads us to self-compassion. We can be aware of when it's showing up within us. This teaching invites us to get to know fear, to become familiar with it, and to look it right in the eye. Pema Chodron says that when we do this, we become humbled. I want to share with you this story to close our time together in this part of the service that Pema Chodron shares in chapter 1, in Intimacy with Fear. She said she went to a lecture in the 1960s by a man who was sharing his experiences in India. He had gone to India because he wanted to rid himself of fear. He struggled with anger, he struggled with lust and laziness, with pride. And his meditation teacher told him to stop struggling, and he couldn't. He just saw this as another way to explain how to overcome his obstacles. And so his teacher sent him to meditate overnight in a tiny hut in the foothills. So he went out to this hut and he shut the door and he sat down. It was not much there. He just sat down on the floor to meditate. And when it was dark, he lit 3 candles. Around midnight, he heard a noise in the corner. And in the darkness, he looked over and he saw what he thought was a very large snake, a king cobra. It was right in front of him and it was swaying, as snakes do. And all night he just sat there still, not knowing what was going to happen, totally alert, his eyes on that snake. And it was just the snake, himself, and fear. And just before dawn, the last candle went out. And he began to cry. He cried not in despair, but in tenderness. He felt the longing that all animals and people in the world feel in that moment. He knew the alienation that they felt. He knew their struggle. And all his meditation had been nothing but separation and struggle that he'd been experiencing in his practice. And at this point, he finally fully accepted wholeheartedly that he was angry and jealous, that he resisted and struggled, and that he was afraid. And he accepted also that he was precious beyond measure, that he was wise and foolish, rich and poor, and totally unfathomable, as Pema explains. And he said he felt so much gratitude in that total darkness that he stood up, he walked up to that snake, and he bowed. And then he fell sound asleep on the floor. He was exhausted of a night like that. When he awoke, the snake was gone. And he said he never really knew if it was his imagination or if it had really been there, but it didn't seem to matter. And at the end of his lecture, he said that much intimacy with fear caused his dramas to collapse, and the world around him finally got through. And so I wonder if COVID-19 is your cobra. It's there. Where is it? Is it in your life? Is it in your home? Is it in your community? People you know? Can you look it in the eye? Now, when things fall apart, there's nowhere to escape. Pema says, when you encounter fear, consider yourself lucky, because this is where courage comes in. We feel the fear and we do it anyway. We do the live stream from our homes. We show up in love. In the midst of fear, our Christ nature shows up, truth shows up, compassion shows up, strength shows up. When things fall apart and we let ourselves stay in the present moment, we discover what life truly is. And so let's move into our time of spiritual talk back. Take it away, Rev Karen.
There we go. Hi, Reverend Jeanmarie, what a wonderful message. What a wonderful lesson. Thank you so much. The meditation was beautiful too. Thank you. And for your questions. This is the time that we love to share and kind of mix in and answer questions if possible. But Reverend Jeanmarie, your first question, what is the good news, or what's the good experience from this experience, right? Well, we have several people who wanted to share. Selwyn says, quiet time for self-reflection was one of her gifts in this time. And Monica said, living more in the moment was hers. Roberta said, slower pace. Bonnie said, people walking and greeting one another. I've seen a lot of that myself. Yeah. And Sheila said, meditate, enjoy nature, less traffic, more peace. Less traffic in Houston, for sure, right? And Rose, spending time with nature. Ursula said that the landlord agreed to not raise rent this year.
Awesome.
Which is really what a great relief, right? You know, with all of the uncertainties around us. That's a certainty that she has. Wendy, a new normal that serves us. And Bonnie said, reaching out and helping others in a new way. Those were the things that came from what they've been learning about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so much good that is coming forth. And I've had that experience too of walking down my block and seeing neighbors that I wouldn't normally see, who might not even be home normally, with their families, and they're friendly, and we're staying 6 feet apart, but how you doing? You know, what's your name? And your dog is cute, your baby's cute. Just feels more, people feel more open and connected, and I would think they'd be like, oh, stay away, you know, but no, we're trying to find ways to experience each other, since we're isolated in this way, but also new ways and new appreciation for those connections when we have them, right?
Well, your second question, what truth have you discovered in fear? Laddie says that he's learned from fear that divine order is within chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And Wendy says that it's okay to feel fear and to sit with it. That's what she's been noticing. Yeah. And Bruce had a question. He says, how are we going to transform as spirit beings living a human and divine experience? How are we going to transform as spiritual beings living a human and divine experience?
That's a good question to be with, Bruce. So when we remember the truth of who we are, that we're unlimited, we're infinite, we're love and expression, then how does that inform the way that we see the world and how we care for one another, what we choose to do with our work, how we show up? I know for one of my students who shared that she lost a business, a corporate job, and now she is delivering groceries. And she felt called to do that just because she felt that it was helpful to people. And she said she's experienced so much gratitude from people and great tips too, which is a cool thing. That Spirit in her knew this wasn't the work that was her vocation, but it was what she was called to do. So it was that bringing together of the human and divine. And she says she feels healthier than ever. She's lost weight doing all this and just loves getting out. And it's been a good experience for her. So I didn't ask her in advance if I could mention her name, so I'm not going to, but as someone in our community. And it's just a really neat thing. That's something that we can all be attentive to, that question, Bruce, of how can we transform through our awareness of being human and divine. Moment by moment, we get to make that decision. Where am I going to come from? My faith, my truth, my centeredness, or what the world is telling me how I should feel now. Taking time to remember the truth. And we're doing that together tonight. Which is why this is so important, why we knew we needed to keep this going.
Your third question, what appears to be unknown to you, and how does it feel to sit in the unknown? And Sherry said, living with the unknown has deepened our enjoyment of our time together as a husband and wife. Isn't that something, like sharing something together, I think, right?
Yeah, enjoying each moment.
Yeah, what a great revelation that you can sit together and not know. And because you do it together, it makes it a bonding experience, sounds like.
And you can't say you have something to rush off to.
That's right. That's right. I got to get some
your agenda with
groceries.
Zoom meetings and webinars and live streams. It really does allow us to create our relationships in a new way. I have felt that in our home, our time together. It's so good.
Well, Pat says that increasingly aware of my interconnectedness along with my human frailties. Increasingly aware of my interconnectedness along with my human frailties. I think that's a very cool observation.
Yeah, there's the vulnerability that we can feel, at least I know that I feel when I recognize that I am not invincible and can't, my body can do what it can do, and I'm grateful for what it can do, but that, I'm spiritually unlimited. We know that's the truth. And our human experience is limited to this time and space and form. We can make changes and improvements, and just loving and accepting who we are with all the human frailties. That's a beautiful, connected place to be, Pat. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.